it's Faith. Let's go over our core values: honor, excellence, compassion, relevance, relationships, generosity, power, and service. Hey guys, it's Faith, and today I have a story and a scripture for you. So the scripture comes from Luke chapter 8, verse 50, and it says, "Do not be afraid, only believe." So our story is called Time to Get Up, and it is about when Jesus heals a girl. Jairus, a leader of the synagogue, fell at Jesus' feet. "My little girl is dying," he cried. "If you lay your hands on her, I know that she will live." Pushing through the crowd, they met some men from Jairus' house. "Your daughter is already dead," they said. "Don't be afraid," said Jesus. "Believe, and your daughter will be healed." They arrived at Jairus' house and found people weeping for the girl. "Why are you weeping?" Jesus asked. "The girl's not dead. She's only sleeping." The people laughed at him. Jesus and 3 of his disciples, Peter, James, and John, went into the house with Jairus and his wife. The little girl was lying there, just as everyone had said. Jesus took her hand. Then he said, "Stand up, little girl." And she did. She even walked around the room. Jairus and his wife were amazed. Jesus told them not to tell anyone what he had done. "Now," said Jesus, "I think this little girl needs something to eat." So that was the story of when Jesus healed the little girl. Return next week to listen to the story about Jesus feeding over 5,000 people. Bye!
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for Kids Zone.
Hello everyone, my name is Mark, and welcome to this week's episode of The Hunt.
Thanks, Mark. You know, I'm on another outdoor adventure, and usually I'm out here chasing hurricanes and swimming with sharks and wrestling bears and alligators. But this time, I'm out here watching people. And to tell you the truth, people make me just a little bit nervous. But I'm gonna be running through the woods, hiding in bushes, and trying to figure out exactly what these relationships are all about. Come on, let's go. Okay, we've caught up with Charlie. Now Charlie's been having a little bit of trouble with friends and in school, but I want to catch up with him and find out if he chooses to make God the most important relationship. Come on, let's go. Okay, this is it. Charlie's up here at the top of this hill, and I think he's praying, which is just talking to God. Now let's listen really close and see if we can hear what they're talking about.
Hey God, it's me, Charlie. God, I'm really having a hard time with some things right now, and I just wanted to talk to you about them. You see, I'm having a really hard time at school. I feel like I just don't understand everything they're teaching me, and that makes me feel not very smart. But I always do my best on my homework and all my projects. I'm very respectful, and I listen to my teacher all the time. Please show me how I can do better in school. Also, I don't feel like I have any friends. I used to have friends, but ever since me and my family moved to this new town, I don't feel like anyone wants to hang out with me. I just don't fit in. I thought I had some friends at school, but they started playing with other kids and never wanted to play with me anymore. Thank you for always being my friend. Thank you that I can talk to you and you always listen to me and help me out. Jesus, you really are my best friend. Well, I guess that's it for now. Thanks for listening, and thanks for always helping me out.
Wow, did you hear that? It sounds like Charlie's having a real tough time at school and with his friends, but I'm so proud of him for making Jesus the #1 relationship in his life. You know, the Bible tells us in the book of Matthew that if we make Jesus #1, that he'll take care of everything else, so we won't have to worry about all that stuff. So let's go back to Mark in the studio and see what he has to say about this situation.
Thanks, Wild Man. It seems Charlie is having some hard times, but he made the right decision by choosing to make Jesus the most important relationship in his life. There's a story in the Bible about David, and in the story, David gets into some pretty sticky situations, and he's in need of a good friend. But he chooses to make Jesus the most important relationship in his life, and in doing so, God does something cool. Let's check it out.
In the Bible, there's a story about David. In this story, David chose to make God the most important relationship in his life. David was living in the palace of a king named Saul. King Saul used to really like David. However, as time went on, David kept doing great things for God and kept winning wars because God was on his side. All of this success made King Saul very jealous. On 2 different occasions, King Saul got so jealous that he tried to kill David by throwing a spear at him and trying to pin him to the wall. After King Saul tried to kill David, David went and prayed to God. He felt like he needed some help from a friend, but instead of finding a person to help him, he made God the #1 friend in his life and asked God for help. This made God so happy because he wants to be our best friend. Because of David's decision, God also sent David a friend named Jonathan. Jonathan was actually King Saul's son, and David and Jonathan became great friends. One day, King Saul brought all of his servants and family together and told them that he wanted to kill David. Jonathan was shocked to hear about what his father wanted to do. He immediately went to warn David. He told David, "Go find a place to hide until morning. My father is right now searching for you to kill you. I'll go out and stand beside my father in the field where you're hiding and see if he has changed his mind by then. Afterwards, I'll tell you everything I can find out." After Jonathan talked to his father, he knew that David could no longer live at the palace because King Saul had not changed his mind about killing David. This made him very sad, but he knew he needed to save David's life. So Jonathan told David that his father had not changed his mind and that it was no longer safe for David to live there. This made them both very sad, but they were also very thankful because when they made God the most important relationship in their lives, God gave them the help that they needed.
What a great story. It's amazing how David chose Jesus as the most important relationship of all, even when everyone around him was against him. He chose to make God #1, and by doing so, God gave him a friend in Jonathan, who even saved his life. It is so important that we make Jesus #1 in our life. Back to you, Wild Man.
Wow, what a great story, Mark. That's so awesome how God takes care of us when we make him #1 in our lives. Kind of like Charlie's doing right now. I'm so proud of him for making Jesus the #1 relationship in his life. Come on, let's go. Wow, that was great, you guys. It was so awesome to see Charlie just making God the #1 relationship in his life. I tell you what, it's been such an awesome adventure just hanging out with you guys and finding out the truth in relationships and what that's all about. Now remember, in week 1, we learned that honor leads to good relationships. And we watched Charlie and his sister honor their parents by obeying. That was awesome. In week 2, we learned how kindness leads to good relationships. Now, whether it's a kid that you're best friends with or another kid that you don't even know, it's so important to show God's love through kindness. In week 3, we learned all about loyalty and how loyalty leads to good relationships. We saw Charlie playing checkers with his sister, and then that group of kids came up and they only wanted to play with Charlie. But Charlie stayed loyal to his sister and decided to stay and play checkers with her. Now that was the right thing to do. And of course, this week, we learned all about how God leads to the best relationships. This has been a great adventure. Now back to you, Mark.
Thanks again, Wild Man. Well, everyone, this has been an exciting series, and I hope you had the opportunity to learn about finding the truth in relationships. We learned about honor, kindness, loyalty, and most important of all, we learned that God leads to the best relationships. Well, that's it for me, everyone. I hope you can join us next season for more episodes of The Hunt.